another update. Wow, it's been so soon. So that said, let's get to it. So there's more movies coming up, more stuff I picked up. Here we go. Alright, so the first one we have is the Bruce Willis buddy cop movie, Cop Out. Also with Tracy Morgan. This is often considered a bad movie. Certainly not one of Kevin Smith's best movies, but it wasn't bad. Bruce Willis and Tracy Morgan are teaming up they're trying to steal back a baseball card that's worth, I don't know, $5,000 or something. And it does the whole buddy cop cliches, and it's not bad. I mean, I like Kevin Smith for who he is as a person and as a writer. Quirks is hilarious. I think I saw one of his movies. I'm not sure which one exactly, but yeah, Cop Out wasn't bad. I don't think it's that bad. When you compare it to Bruce Willis's other movies, like all the movies he's been doing lately, this is one of his better ones. But it's such a shame that his career has gone so far downhill that it's not even funny. Because he was, sometime around 2019, he was diagnosed with aphasia, which is a neurological condition that affects speech and focus. I actually watched one of those movies that he did. It was called Fortress. It was But Getaway. This is a Sam Peckinpah movie, but I don't think very many people know. Sam Peckinpah, you may know him for directing well-known classics, Straw Dogs, The Wild Bunch. Movies pretty much tease people's expectations, and this is another one. It's a crime movie with Steve McQueen and Ali MacGraw, but it does a really good job. They're trying to pull off a robbery, but it's tricky because, the authorities are on his tail all the time. It's kind of an interesting plot. Well, not interesting because it's kind of basic, but for the most part, it does a good job. It knows what it is. It does a good job. It's psychological at times. Ben Johnson's in here. You may know him from The Last Picture Show. Quincy Jones doing the music. This is a pretty solid crime movie. I mean, crime movies aren't the same as they once was, but this is one of the better ones you should check out. Tourist Trap. Okay. This is a Full Moon production. If you don't know Full Moon, they were responsible for films like Castle Freak and Puppet Master. They did a lot of these movies. And Charles Band. For Castle Freak, he owned a castle, and so he wasn't using it, so he decided, I'm going to make a movie here. And so he casted all these people to live in this castle for, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks. This one, okay. If you are afraid of mannequins, do not watch this movie. If you don't like The Rifleman, if you don't like Chuck Connors, don't watch this movie because the Rifleman, Chuck Connors, he plays a psychotic lunatic in this one. If you're afraid of killer mannequins, then avoid this movie at all costs because this movie is basically a bunch of teenagers go missing because of killer mannequins and crazy Chuck Connors. This was the movie that I saw on Joe Bob Briggs' Last Drive-In. This was the first movie he showed, and I didn't watch it. I wasn't able to watch it when it first premiered because of technical issues, but I caught it later, and it was surprisingly decent. There's not very many Full Moon movies where I can say that, it was fine. It was solid. Jackie, about Jacqueline Kennedy after the assassination of her husband, John F. Kennedy. This is essentially how she tried to hang on to herself, what happened during the Kennedy assassination, everything that went on after. So it doesn't really focus on Jacqueline Kennedy's life as much as it focuses on a specific moment in her life. Natalie Portman, I mean, she had a really tough job. She had to get the dialect right. She had to get her personality and her mannerisms correct. I mean, she did a fine job. The only inaccuracy I noticed, and there might be more, I just don't know. The movie seems to hint that President Lyndon Johnson, who took over after John F. Kennedy, had this grudge with Jacqueline Kennedy, when that really wasn't true. Jacqueline Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson were good friends, even though they didn't necessarily meet very much, I assume. But other than that, it's kind of a solid movie. Jacqueline Kennedy, she had to find her own strength again after the death of her husband. She had to do that. She had to be strong for the nation because she had to be there. And so you can commend her for that. And the movie does accurately show that, even if it's not 100%. Another movie, Sully, another hero, Sully Sullenberger, in 2009, January 15th, 2009. Captain Sully Sullenberger landed 747 plane in the Hudson River after it was struck by seagulls. Everyone survived. No one was hurt, no one was injured, and he was considered a hero. It was known as the Miracle on the Hudson. The only inaccuracy I noticed with this movie was that the movie seems to think that the NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board, interrogated Sullenberger. They had doubts about why this happened or how could it happen. When the NTSB, they were never the villains. They were never the villains. They never even had any doubt about what happened. It was clear as day. The plane was hit by seagulls, and they couldn't make it back to the runway. So they had to find another way to land the plane because one of her engines was out. So they were never the villains. Clint Eastwood movie. Tom Hanks does a very good job. But then again, he does a very good job portraying real life people. You know, he's a versatile actor. Love him. Unfortunately, we're going to get into some crap. Elektra. This movie is bad. This is bad. This is the quasi-sequel to Daredevil, which I don't know. Is the director's cut on Blu-ray or no? Whatever. Elektra is the sequel to Daredevil, and while Daredevil was a pretty decent movie, Elektra is not. Jennifer Garner didn't even want to do this movie. The producers didn't want to do it, but 20th Century Fox forced him to do it. So basically, this entire movie was one big mistake. And they knew it. And it shows. The script is convoluted. Nobody even knows why she came back in the first place. Something about magic or something. Or Terrence Stamp. I did like these guys who were part of his clan who were after her for some bizarre reason. I don't even remember why. It's not the worst superhero film I've seen, but yeah, more of the movies they were way below the standards of what it is now. But nowadays, I think that they're running out of steam. The X-Men Beginnings Trilogy. Now, this is how I was introduced to X-Men. These 3 films. First Class, Days of Future Past, and Apocalypse. I do have the other ones. I just haven't watched those yet. But this was how I was introduced to X-Men. Through these 3 films. And I have to say, First Class was pretty solid. Days of Future Past was better. Apocalypse was fine. They rectified all the issues with the 2 Wolverine movies. But anyway, they're really solid movies. Even though they're not necessarily prequels, they're not bad either. They're not bad movies. So I say check these out. First Class is essentially the origin of how the X-Men came to be. Days of Future Past, like they're going back in time to the events in the original movies and finding what they can change and all that. So they're kind of like bending their own timeline a little bit. And Apocalypse it's basically anti-Thanos, if you think about it. But yeah, these films are solid. I have not seen X-Men Dark Phoenix. I haven't seen that one yet. All Eyes on Me. This is the Tupac Shakur movie. And it's surprisingly good. It's not as bad as some people make it out to be. I know some people are diehard Tupac fans and they can tell you that this movie does not represent him at all. But the only inaccuracy that I noticed was the movie gets the relationship between him and Jada Pinkett Smith wrong by him reciting a poem that she didn't even know even existed, and he never read it to her. But other than that, it's kind of a solid movie, even though it doesn't really talk about Tupac's philosophies and mindset and personality all that much. It's still, I don't think it deserves The Hated God. I mean, I don't know the story inside and out, but what I do know is that the guy playing Tupac does a fantastic job. In fact, he actually looks like him. And what's interesting trivia is that his father worked with a real Tupac. Dawn of a Planet of the Apes. This is my personal favorite of the new ape movies. This is my personal favorite. Rise. I will pick up Rise, but I was not the biggest fan of Rise. Dawn was incredible. The visuals are fantastic. The world and the environment's great. But we're trying to, like, all the characters in the movie are trying to find this light source. We're trying to find this power source. We can't do that because all the power is basically done, you know. But man, it's been a long time since I've seen these movies. But man, I remember loving this. This is great. Young Guns. Not so much. This is one of the many Billy the Kid movies. Billy the Kid was a notorious outlaw in the Old West. He did everything in his power to make you know that he should not be tampered with. And Young Guns is basically the Breakfast Club in the West. But there are things about this movie that are historically accurate. Some of it isn't. But neither was Tombstone. Tombstone wasn't 100% accurate either. This is a decent movie, though look at it more as a satire of history rather than history. If you want to know the true history of Billy the Kid, go watch something else. 2 non-Blu-ray releases. Exodus. And yes, the disc is loose. But that's because the disc doesn't have another clamp thing, whatever it's called. Anyway, Exodus. This is an epic by Otto Preminger. Otto Preminger actually hired Don Trumbo, who was trying to get out of the blacklist. He's trying to get out of the Hollywood blacklist. And this movie, so it's a true story about this commander of a ship nicknamed Exodus, in which he's trying to transport 600 Jews from Israel to Palestine. Great cast: Paul Newman, Eva Marie Saint, Sal Mineo, Hugh Griffith, Alfie. If all you know of Alfie is Jude Law, then you are missing out. Michael Caine's this hopeless romantic who's trying to get, involved with so many women, and he actually talks to the fourth wall. He actually talks to you, talking about like how he got to this point in the first place, what his techniques are, etc. So yes, this is basically one of those types of movies where, if you've ever seen High Fidelity before, where John Cusack is sort of going over all the girlfriends he was with or whatever, or if you've ever seen 9, where the main character reminisces on all the girlfriends past and present that he was involved with, this movie's a little similar. This movie came out before all those, and it's a good rom-com. Do not see the remake. Oh my god, I cannot emphasize that enough. Do not watch the remake. I won't if you won't. Thank you all so much, and until next time, I will see all of you later.